All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SG Live 2019. My name is Kip. I'm joined by Mass Hysteria and Mako Troy. Gentlemen, you guys having a good night? How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Ready for some
having a good time.
Excellent.
Super Metroid.
That's right. What we're getting ready for here is we're going to do some Super Metroid randomizer, but with a twist, actually a couple twists. First and foremost, this is going to be a crowd control event. That means that you guys in the chat will have the ability to control some of the things that happen to our runners, and I'm sure there'll be some information about that you guys can see in terms of the commands and how to donate. But secondly, I'm actually personally very excited about this, but at the same time nervous, because the randomizer logic that you're going to see tonight this is the first time it's ever been publicly shown, really.
Right.
The only other time that it's been on a stream was for about an hour, where Zost, I'm sure you guys know who Zost is if you're familiar with Super Metroid, he's the only person to publicly run a seed. But this is a randomizer logic that I actually have been working on developing with several people in the community that have helped me to program it, which we'll talk about later. To kind of give you guys some information on how it works, the main randomizer logic that has been used back a couple years ago for our tournament and, pretty widespread throughout the community was developed by a guy named Total. Really awesome guy, really smart dude, put together some awesome ideas for the randomizer. This code starts with what he developed, so it's no different from that in terms of how the items are placed. The only changes are to diversify the ways that runners can potentially complete a seed. There's basically 3 changes currently, and we're in development for some other ones, but we're testing them. The 3 major changes that you will see today are this. Every runner will actually start the game with Charge Beam, but the Charge Beam that they start with will only do 30% damage. So that means that they do have the ability right from the beginning to damage any boss, but at the cost of time. If they never find the Charge Beam item, they'll only have 30% damage on their charge shots throughout, which will take a lot longer to kill people or bosses like Mother Brain or Ridley. However, if they do find the Charge Beam item, it will upgrade to the 100% value. Secondly, the gravity suit in these randomizer logics typically does not provide heat reduction. In this logic, the gravity suit will allow heat damage to only do 50% damage. That will mean that lower Norfair Hell runs are much more on the table than they used to in the old logic. Doesn't mean it's necessarily encouraged in every single seed, but it is something that is way more available with certain item sets leading up to it. And then last, there is a gated item at Wreck Ship Reserve location. That item is normally gated by the speed booster because there's a speed block that you have to get through to get to that item. We have changed that block to now be breakable also by regular bombs. Not power bombs, not screw attack, but regular bombs. We wanted to give regular bombs a little bit more utility and allow it to have access to maybe another item that it didn't currently have. And that's currently where we sit. Past that, the only other changes we have are we wanted to limit the number of super missiles a little bit from the old logic because we didn't want super missiles to be too powerful. As you guys know, it used to be very easy to find at least 30 or more supers before you even left Brinstar, which meant that Ridley was super free, or at least for most people, right? So instead, we've limited the number of supers by just a little bit. The ratio we have is 32 missiles, 17 supers, and 17 power bombs. So still plenty for a newer runner to go and find and be comfortable with, but we wanted to give a few extra options for the experienced Super Metroid speedrunners. So the goal, and hopefully we're going to reach it, is the skill floor required to complete a seed is basically the same, but the skill ceiling has raised a little bit and allows for a little bit more risky play for potentially reward if you feel like you're up to it. So, gentlemen, what do you guys think about that? What are some things you're looking forward to seeing how these runners deal with in the new logic?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see it because, I really like the total randos, and that's kind of where I come from, starting about 3 years ago playing Super Metroid. So, to have that ceiling raised a little bit, and even for me, I just spectate. I rarely ever partake in because I'm just not that great at them. But just watching, it's good to have that change up to see something new, something exciting.
Cool. What about you, Mass? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. I mean, you and I have talked about this off and on for the last year or so. I think that, like Mako said, I mean, it's an interesting idea to say, kind of like you said, none of these changes impact item locations, right? So because hell runs are more on the table, it doesn't mean you're gonna be forced to do a hell run.
Correct.
But there's a lot of really excellent players in the community that if they said, "Oh, I only take 50% damage," they might just go for it.
Exactly, which I think would be more exciting. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to go ahead and admit openly in front of everybody, part of the reason I wanted to kind of see this change made is because my favorite category in Super Metroid is low percent ice, and I wanted to see some more lengthier Ridley fights. So I'm hoping that we get a chance to see some really cool engagements with the bosses in this new randomizer logic. But before we get started, obviously they're still setting up over there. We got a few minutes to talk. I do want to give a quick shout out again to first and foremost, Total, because he's the person who originally made the logic that we're using here. And he was very kind enough to talk with me and give me everything I needed to make it happen. Secondly, there's a guy named Smiley who works on a lot of Super Metroid ROM hacks. He's the guy that I approached and has spent a lot of time helping me develop the code. And then secondly, there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are friends with me that have been helping me do tests of the seeds, making sure it works correctly. And we're still balancing. We're not quite there to the end product yet. We're still trying to figure out how to make it what we want it to be, but we're a lot closer now than we used to be. And finally, Massive Stereo over here has also helped me with some of the coding and whatnot and helping me with the testing. So a lot of people behind the scenes making things happen, as you can imagine. So with that said, though, in case anybody's not familiar with the Total major-minor split, essentially the way it works is take all the major locations in the game. So suit upgrades, beams, energy tanks, reserve tanks, any of those things that are not basically ammunition. All of those locations will hold a major item. So you can only find those beams and suit upgrades and stuff at those locations. All of the minor locations in the game that have missiles or super missiles or power bombs, those are the places where the minor items would still be, but randomized with the numbers that we mentioned earlier about the 32, 17, 17. There is a small exception, if I recall. I think there's only one. The energy tank at the high jump boot location has been removed as a major location and moved to the right side wrecked ship location where the super missiles are after Fantoon. Right. The reason that was updated was just to get a little bit more balance because Norfair was very heavy on the major items and wrecked ship was very sparse. So having wrecked ship have 4 locations instead of just 3 kind of gives a little bit more opportunity for people to consider wrecked ship first as a viable play when looking for those items that you need to upgrade to be able to complete the game. So otherwise, that should be it. I think most people are pretty familiar with how this works. So I'm curious to see what the crowd decides to do with the crowd control. If you were going to donate and have a crowd control feature, Mass, what would you do you think?
Well, I've watched these very limited. It's tough to say. I mean, I guess it depends on if you're feeling like you want to make it easy, right? Because
Right.
that's an option. But I know that baby Metroid hug with the slowdown effect is a pretty popular one and pretty painful.
That's a popular one and painful, but you know what's cool? I like how the crowd control affects how powerful some of the items are, because if someone gave me that, I would want to have space jump.
Okay.
Because you could still,
Okay.
Jump up and down over and over again and eventually get where you wanted to go, whereas I feel like some of the wall jumps would be a lot harder. So what about you, Mako? What do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've watched Sloters, shout out to Sloters there. I've watched him do a few of these, and I kept finding myself giving him super missiles only to have people take them away from him. So, that's always interesting to see it in opportune times, or opportune, because I kept trying to give him what he needed to complete the game. So, yeah, like what Mass was saying, it's really awesome to see that balance of what the crowd can do to the runner.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what kind of balance in the chat we have of lawful good versus chaotic evil people out there when it comes to Super Metroid.
It's usually
so
pretty balanced one direction.
Yeah, probably so in this case. That's true. But for anybody out there who might be, somewhat unfamiliar with Super Metroid, we always like when we're on commentary to at least kind of approach it from an educational point of view in case people are new. There's a few things you might want to know. The basic premise is that for these guys to finish a seed, it's kind of like vanilla. They're going to need to kill all 4 of the major bosses. That includes Crate, Fantoon, Dragon, and Ridley. And then once they defeat those 4 major bosses, they will then go to the Golden 4 statue room, make their way into Torian to defeat Mother Brain before finishing the game. So technically, other than getting rid of Siri Station, the first portion of the game, everything else is basically running the same way. A couple items that you want to keep an eye out for, some of the most important items in Super Metroid in terms of randomizer seeds and finishing runs. The Varia suit is arguably the most powerful, although maybe a little less required now in the new logic with the gravity changes, but Varia does offer 100% protection from heat damage, which allows normal runs through Lower Norfair and elsewhere. Secondly, they're going to need an item to be able to get through Meridia, or at least 99.9% of players will need either Speed Booster or the Ice Beam to be able to make it to Batwoon and then on to Dragon. We do have some prodigies out there who do a Crystal Flash clip. One of them will be racing later tonight in some races here.
Oh, very true.
Yeah, so there are a few ways to do that, but those are kind of the items you really want to look for. In the past, people needed to find Charge Beam or a ton of ammo. Now they have the option to get some ammo and some beams depending on what the seed gives you, but depending on how comfortable you are with the boss fights, you might could just rush straight to the bosses and get geared up for a longer fight but still complete it. So we'll see how it pans out.
Still looking for those power bombs, of course. If it's the ice tends to like to hide itself away, so
that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ice Beam being basically giving you the ability to freeze the Metroids in Torian. If you can't find the Ice Beam, you still can complete the Torian section by power bombing the Metroids. But if you don't have enough power bombs, it can be very slow because they don't usually give many drops when you kill them that way.
Very true.
So, but anyway, we just want to also mention while they're still getting set up, we're really excited to be here. This SG Live event has been a ton of fun. Number one, just hanging out with friends, live playing. We all play Super Metroid together. We've done a bunch of any percent. We've got a double ante bingo tournament going on. In fact, two of those races, any percent and double ante bingo, will be happening tonight on the restream, maybe around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that, Eastern time. And we've got some really great runners that are going to be featured there. But hanging out with people playing Super Metroid, but really just want to give a shout out to all the organizers and everybody who put this on. It's been awesome. Everybody's been extremely helpful, and all the facilities and stuff have been running really smoothly. So we're really happy to be here and experiencing this.
Yeah, I've been really excited to be here and do all this as well. It's been the best gaming convention / tournament I've been to so far and been a part of, and a lot of that is due to Fiesel and the guys. They're just amazing at this stuff.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the runners we have tonight. Both of the runners that you guys are going to see featured in this particular race are not only, we not only have them up here for the Super Metroid, but one of the runners, Osse, who will be running, he's actually the top seed in the A Link to the Past randomizer tournament that we have going on here at SG Live as well. So it's pretty cool to see that we have a lot of people that are across community, run multiple games. And
he's been a busy guy today.
Yeah, he's been a very busy guy today. He's been hanging with us, getting a lot of SM runs in, and then he's got a lot of Zelda runs to do tomorrow. But so he not only plays Legend of Zelda in terms of speedrunning and randomizer, but he's a great Super Metroid player. He's got a great 80% time, really good at double anti-bingo. So he's going to be fun to watch him go through the logic tonight. And then secondly, we have zeb316. We're just going to call him Zeb for short. But Zeb's a really great up-and-coming runner who has really cut his time down very quickly. His current 80% time is a 47, which anything sub 50 is where you're really like pushing yourself to get a lot better, and it's kind of difficult to reach. He got there really fast, so he's a very good player as well and is also very experienced in randomizer. He's in our randomizer league that's currently going on in our community, and he's actually in my division. I got to race him several weeks ago.
That's right. Yeah.
But since then, I think he's been undefeated. So I guess he's putting his undefeated streak on the line tonight against Osse. Let's see what happens.
It's going to be a good one. These two guys specifically, they've both really lowered that time really quickly. Zeb, I think he told me earlier, he's been running for 3 years, about the same amount of time that we have, and has just recently started into the streaming process. So
right.
Which is awesome. The more people we can get streaming Super Metroid, the better. Absolutely.
we have a great community that loves to help each other and learn together and have races and fun competitions and stuff. So also, I think I should mention, Osse was the champion of the Super Metroid Prodigy tournament that we had, I believe, last year. The Prodigy tournament was a tournament specifically for people who did not have a sub 50 80% time prior to the start of the tournament. And by the end of that tournament, unless I'm mistaken, I believe Osse had lowered his PB all the way down to like a 46 something,
which 46,
was
yeah.
crazy. So both of these guys are very experienced, and they're going to run tonight, and I think we're going to see some cool tech.
That's a shame. I should have entered that tournament. I could have shaved 5 minutes off my PB.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all you have to do is just enter the tournament, and automatically you get some time off, right? That's cool. But tell you what, since they're still setting some things up over here, Well, just to fill some time, why don't we talk a little bit about, why we love Super Metroid and kind of how we got into Super Metroid, because it's kind of one of those games that, like, once you just barely start kind of getting into it and wanting to learn a little bit more, it seems like it kind of snowballs. It gets its claws into you and it doesn't let go, right? We got a lot of people who I think we all consider ourselves probably masochists to a certain degree for playing this game because it can be brutal. But tell us a little bit about how you in particular got into Super Metroid, Mako, and then Mass, I'll come to you.
Yeah, 1994, I was 14 because I'm old. So I turned 40 this year, and just looking back on it, I got that for Christmas in 94, and I spent 6 months just trying to beat the game. And we were just talking about this, me and Mass, just a few minutes ago, about how easily we beat the game now. We just absolutely destroy the game as speedrunners, but back then it was you'd have that you'd have the gravity, you'd have all the energy tanks. You'd go to Ridley and he'd kill you.
Right.
And it's just over and over again until you thought you were getting better at it. Fast forward, to now and realize what good actually is. You start watching guys like Zost and Oats and Goats back in the day. It was the one that got me into it. Yeah, it's crazy how much this game has kind of followed me the past years, and I've really never left the scene because the community's just this strong.
Well, as a fellow old guy, I feel like I have to ask the question because I had a similar experience when I was a kid playing this game. I had tons of health, I had all the armor and stuff, and I would still die. I don't think I shot a single charge shot at a boss when I was a kid. I think I shot only missiles and supers because I'd played regular NES Metroid growing up. And, all you could use there were the missiles. Did you do the same thing, or were you a prodigy and actually realized that you could kill them with the charge shots?
It almost seems like R2 develop. What's the name of them? The Deer Force guys. It almost seems like they set it up specifically to you better have the missiles, and because I did the same thing. Yeah, and
yeah.
I watch myself trying to kill Ridley now, and I'm doing this with my hands. I think, well, that's probably why.
Right. Mass, what about you? Tell us all about how when you were young, you really got into Super Metroid at an early age. Tell us all about it.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny. You were talking about how, as a fellow old guy, but I'm pretty sure this is unique. You're probably the youngest guy at the table for once.
Man, I feel good about that.
That's right, yeah.
But the grayest, probably. I'm probably the grayest.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. But, no, so, yeah, also, being a little bit older, I also, played SNES. That was my main console, right, growing up. But for me, Super Metroid just never made it into my house for some reason. I rented A Link to the Past, and, I played my fair share of a lot of these games that came out that people speedrun now, poorly, obviously. But Super Metroid, I don't know, because I never played original Metroid. I know, you had some older brothers maybe
Correct.
that were playing those games.
That's
and
right.
So for me, it just never made it on the radar. My real history with the game, kind of started because, we know each other from the real world. And, everybody should know, I think to some extent, Kip just wanted to see, can I get this guy to run a whatever run of Super Metroid just to prove he could, right? And so I think we were hanging out one weekend, and he's like, let me try to teach you this early Supers mock ball. And I was like, those are words. Those are words. I don't know what those words mean, but
I had a passion in my voice,
you
right?
Did,
you could feel
yeah.
it. Yeah.
As an educator, you were like, I want to see if I can show you how to do this. So I went home and cranked up the emulator or whatever and said, all right, let's do a casual playthrough. So probably a unique experience that my first casual playthrough of Super Metroid had early supers in it. So
You might be one of the only people that have that on the table,
yeah, that's right. So.
But see, I have to also say, for me, it was a huge benefit for you getting into it late because, in case anybody doesn't know, Mass and I actually have been really close friends since college. We've known each other a really long time. And Mass has 2 daughters that are growing up, and so they've actually watched him play Super Metroid, and then they've asked me some questions, and then sometimes they'll draw me pictures of Samus or Metroids or Kraid. So I've got a plethora of hand-drawn pictures of Super Metroid that are on my fridge. So it's been an excellent thing for me too. But yeah, I got into Super Metroid at an early age. I actually rented it as soon as it came out. I'd already played Metroid. I'd already played Metroid 2 because I had that on Game Boy. And so, when it was released, I was really excited. I wanted to rent it, and I played it, and it was awesome. And I wasn't able to beat it the first time I rented it in the 3 days that I had, because I think I was maybe like 10 or 11 when it came out. But I wasn't able to beat it in those 3 days, but I rented it again and was able to beat it the second time. I did one of those things where, like, you double rent it, like you turn it in, like, at the last minute at Blockbuster before they close on the last day, and
Make
then the
sure
next
you get
morning
the
you
same
go back
part.
and you get the same one.
Yeah.
So I did that and was able to beat it. But then I never, really played it much again. I'd only play it through about once every 2 or 3 years, to the point where I would forget, right? I would forget where everything was. I didn't remember everything. And so a lot of times it'd be kind of like playing through it, with some knowledge, but not much. And I'd be walking around for hours and hours looking for stuff. But then randomly I just decided to start playing it again after seeing some races from GDQs. Thought it was really neat. Didn't know anything about speedrunning. So my first speed runs didn't have any tech in them whatsoever. It was just me trying to, like, know where the bosses were and the items. And then the next thing you know, you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and you start meeting people. People start teaching you tech. Next thing you know, it's years later, and you've spent thousands of hours on the game. So it's a great game. We got a great community, and anybody who's interested in speedrunning, we would really welcome you to join our Discord and come ask questions. And whether you're streaming or just playing on your own, it's a lot of fun and definitely worth the time investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And make sure you follow all these guys too, because that really helps a lot, getting the word out and getting more people interested in watching Super Metroid, because they literally put it out there for us to watch and to follow along with. And excuse me. Yeah, like with Kip, I found him early on, and I missed out on that early stuff. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah.
I think you were
Actually,
already,
I promise you it wouldn't have been awesome to see.
I think you were at like a 56 when I came to your channel.
Yeah.
Which ironically is not too far off from where I still am, but we're getting there.
The cool thing about Super Metroid 2, and really most Super Nintendo speedruns, and I guess NES as well, is like it's very accessible. There's plenty of emulators out there, and if you are able to, maybe find or purchase like a USB Super Nintendo controller for like $10 or $15 or something like that, that's pretty much the extent of all the equipment that is mandatory to at least kind of get started, right?
Yeah.
And some people even run with, like, their PlayStation controllers or whatever on the emulation. So you might hear about the top runners using, CRT TVs and the original console and all that stuff, and that's great. Those are great ways to play. And, if we're talking about speedrunning, those are going to be probably the easiest ways to have the most control, because you have less, lag and input lag and stuff like that. But those are not mandatory to play. I started off on Wii U Virtual Console.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people who did Wii Virtual Console. We have a lot of people who do emulation. We even have people on SNES Classic, and I think we even have a couple runners out there that play on the 3DS, which is, we do. And sometimes they'll literally hand shoot their runs.
Yeah, shout outs to Beefer.
Yeah, so it's, any way you want to get into it, it's up to you. And I think they just released it on the Switch too, or at least like
They did.
the retro console, or the retro, what do they call it? Sorry, I don't have a Switch. I'm too busy playing Super Nintendo. But
I've wanted one, but I don't have one.
Yeah, so if you're into that too, you can play it on the Switch. So it's cool.
Nintendo's very disappointed in you for not.
Yeah, I
keeping
know.
up, yeah.
I know. I stopped a long time ago, but technically I've been buying most of the consoles, but the Switch has eluded me. I want to get one, but I know the second that I get one and I start playing it, that I'll just not have as much time for Super Metroid. So I want to knock a few goals out before I do that. But anyway, yeah. So we're just kind of here filling a little bit of time. They're still getting ready for the crowd control. In case anybody has come in, maybe in the last 5 or 10 minutes, just a brief overview. We're going to do a Super Metroid randomizer race. This is not an official tournament race from SGLive. This is just kind of like a fun feature. We've got Zeb and Osse who are going to run, and the items are going to be randomized. But in addition, it's going to be crowd control, which means that obviously you guys in the audience get to have a say in what happens, whether for good or for bad, to the runners here. And so I would assume, I don't currently have the chat pulled up, I can't see it, but I would assume there might be some commands or something that might explain.
There's a plug-in.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So there's a plug-in there that should be able to be used by you, and probably I would say fairly intuitive for how to use it, and you guys can figure out what to do.
It's super obvious in the app.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, a great way to support the channel too, because this has been a great tournament. It's Fiesel and the guys here at Speed Gaming have been awesome to us. So, it's a great way to give back and have fun.
Absolutely. Oh, are you saying we should interview you, Fiesel? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it's okay. Tell you what, we'll take a short break real quick while they're getting the final pieces set up, and then when we get back, we'll start the commentary for the race. So Stick around, guys. Here in just a few minutes, we'll have a live randomizer race from SGLive2019. Thank you. Me, Metroid, and Mass Hysteria. We're very excited to do some Super Metroid randomizer crowd control. As we mentioned earlier, and we'll talk about throughout the run, this is actually, I guess, the world premiere in a way of a slightly different type of randomizer logic. So we're excited to talk about that and show that to you guys as well. We got running tonight zeb316, Osse101, and earlier when I did the player introductions, I forgot to mention that Osse was actually a regular randomizer player in our Randomizer League Season 1 from last year, and actually was the third-place finisher out of a bunch of people. So he's a very experienced randomizer player, not only in Zelda, but also Super Metroid as well. So this should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see him in that #1 spot before too long.
Absolutely. So they are doing some final pieces of the puzzle here for the crowd control, and then they're going to get this thing started here in just a moment. But there should be, for you guys that are watching out there, there should be a sort of a interface or some type of button basically that you can press to get access to the crowd control features. And once again, not only will it be fun to sort of affect the runners, but it'll also be donating for a good cause to support what Speed Gaming's doing, not only with this SG Live event, but just in general with their setup of races for the entire community of speedrunners. So definitely figure out what you want to get your bits in for, your money in for, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, don't forget to be nice every now and again, too.
Yeah, you don't always have to troll the runners, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you could be a benevolent god or goddess, right?
Sometimes those 5 supers just magically appear.
There you go.
Which, of course, that's going to be one of the major changes, like you were saying earlier.
Exactly.
The amount of ammo.
That's right. We're going to see an ammunition spread of 32 regular missiles, 17 supers, and 17 power bombs in this updated logic. Mass, have you ever done a crowd control before, or have you ever watched one?
I've watched a couple, but I've never done one myself.
Yeah, I've never done one either. In fact, after watching a few people do it, I'm not sure if if that's something that I would prefer to watch or do myself.
It'd be interesting.
For sure. But as you guys can see real quick, one of the really major changes to the logic that we've been working on with this new type is if you look at Zeb's screen right now, he's been shooting these charge shots right from the very beginning of the game. That's because Samus will start with a charge beam right from the very beginning in this new logic. However, that charge beam will only do 30% damage, which is actually really small. Let's put it into context real quick. 30% damage is ballparking 18 to 20 damage on a regular shot with just the pea shooter. If that's the only damage that you could do to Mother Brain, you would have to shoot her around 900 times or so, something like that. My low percent speed runs were, I think, 300 shots, and that's...
You answered my question. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
I think it is 1,000.
Is it 1,000? Yeah.
1,000 times.
So long story short, you do have the charge beam, but that doesn't mean that you're overpowered. If you don't find the charge beam regular item that updates to 100% charge beam damage, then you're going to have to swap some boss risk for some time searching for those items. So that's one of the exciting things that we want to feature in this new randomizer logic.
Very nice. Yeah, I can definitely see some really interesting runs, especially from some of the really top players. Could be some interesting Ridley fights.
That's true.
Depending on where items are located, of course.
Absolutely. And I didn't mention this because I don't want to get too heavy into the strategy, but that is the reason that we're making these changes. Just somebody asked in chat, was this my idea? Technically, yes, but I will point out that Mass Hysteria here, who's on a commentary with me, he and I actually sort of the genesis of this concept happened last year on our way to a speed running event. I ran low percent ice at a DreamHack event in Atlanta, which I'll actually be going to again this year here in about a month. But on the drive, we were talking about the state of Super Metroid Randomizer, what we thought was good, some areas where we thought it could maybe use some improvements. And I have kind of a background in just casually, like I really like game theory and like board games and stuff like that. And so we were always talking about game balance. And we felt like the regular Super Metroid Randomizer had some room for improvement in terms of allowing more diversity to be able to finish seeds, if that makes sense. We didn't necessarily love the idea of being hard gated by too many items, such as either charge beam or a ton of missiles. What we wanted to see was maybe if you had the skill set to be able to kill some of these bosses or feel comfortable fighting them for longer periods of time, to be able to use minimal ammo but then more beam shots to potentially beat them. So less opportunity for soft lock, more opportunity for cool fights, and it's a risk-reward system. So, hopefully it'll be cool. We'll see how it works out, but it could be that charge beam's the first item they run into, and it's irrelevant anyway, but you never know.
That would definitely be interesting.
That's true. Before we get started, I do want you guys to take a look at the top of these guys' screens. You can see that the way we tell that they're on the same seed is by using names of creatures in Super Metroid. So let's run through those real quick. Scree, Gamut, Beatom, and Puyo. If you were to have me explain to you what those are, because those sound like alien creatures, it's very easy. Scree, just call it a frog. Gamut, call it a frog. Beatom, call it a frog. Puyo, call it a frog. Everybody in Super Metroid calls everything a frog, so it doesn't really matter what it's called. Okay, if you run into anything, just call it a frog and you're good to go.
If I'm not mistaken, the Puyo is it not the little blobs that you do the ice clip with?
It's the frog blobs, yes.
That frog, excuse
Correct.
me.
That's good to know.
Oh, it looks like we're off.
Hey, we're getting started. Let's go.
All right.
So again, I've got my fingers crossed here because if something weird happens, then this is on me in terms of the way the ROM works because we developed this. But Osse has the charge beam immediately, but has somebody already donated to make him get a hug from the baby Metroid?
Indeed.
Oh my goodness. That is not a feature of the new randomizer. That is a feature of the crowd control. Zeb, on the other hand, is making his way down immediately to pick up the first few items. Osse taking a leisurely Sunday stroll.
Now, we are sure that Zeb didn't make this donation, right?
Yeah, I think Zeb's in it to win it, both in terms of skill and bits.
I'm going to have to say that was pretty impressive. He got the moonfall, even with that handicap there.
He did. That's pretty cool. So Osse finding the energy tank here in the morphing ball location. Despite the changes that we have added to the randomizer logic. Whoa, something. Okay, it just got switched. So anyway, despite the changes that we have made, the item locations are the same as the normal major-minor split. So that means that the morphing ball is going to be in the energy tank ceiling location here in just a minute. So Zeb and Osse are going to have to do some kind of deboost to get up there. It looks like Zeb now, or I think they did some kind of swap. Just so everybody is aware real quick, Osse101, in terms of the camera, he's the one currently on the bottom right. Zeb's on the bottom left. I'm not sure which of the games are which. Hold on, I can take a look. Okay, Osse's screen is definitely on the left. I can definitely clarify that. It looks like Osse got a spike suit there. And now Zeb's trying to get the morphing ball with
the slowdown.
Okay, cool. With the slowdown. So yeah, we're good to go. Okay, now everything's set up. We got everybody in the correct location. All screens are correct. Very good.
It almost would be beneficial just to wait until the crowd control is over right here, maybe. Yeah, this is the part that missing this deboost it's a little frustrating at first. It's a very iconic energy tank though, so you wouldn't want it to be anywhere else really.
Correct.
Which is of course morphing ball this time.
Yeah, the thing about it, had that very nice by Zeb. Had that item location just been the energy tank, like if you had swapped them and the morphing ball had been in its vanilla spot, technically they could have just skipped that if they didn't, if they didn't get the deboost immediately. Sometimes you don't always have to pick up every energy tank, because usually by the end of these major minor split ones, you get a lot of energy tanks, because there's like, I don't know, roughly maybe a 40% chance at every item location that you're going to get one. maybe slightly less than that. But anyway, Ossie's going to take his power bombs over here and go ahead and check this miner location, hoping for probably like another super pack or another power bomb pack.
Another leisurely stroll.
Exactly. I gotta say, I really like so far what, Chad. I like the decisions you're making. This is fun.
Yeah, the baby hug is pretty popular so far.
So Zeb now also gonna drop this power bomb, and he's gonna be rewarded with another power bomb pack. I would like to point out that power bombs, in terms of miner ammunition, very, very good, especially if you get more than one pack pretty early in a run. Because if you don't find another way to break blocks like normal, bombs, or maybe even the speed booster or screw attack, having those extra power bombs will really help you not soft lock or find other places where you got to farm for a long time with very specific creatures that drop power bombs. So it's cool that they found that early, and it opens up the possibility later on for some crystal flashing, which can be very helpful during potential hell runs. So it looks like Ossie's making the call to come down here, and third power bomb pack.
Right.
So now they actually can do those crystal flashes. The reason you can't do a crystal flash with only 2 power bomb packs is because by definition you have to have a power bomb on the ground before you have 10 power bombs to activate the crystal flash. So that if that comes up, we'll kind of explain what that is later. Meanwhile, Zeb looks like he's going to check another miner location over here in the 230 spot. Ooh. Once again, rolling along easy.
Very popular.
Very fun. And another power bomb pack. Okay, I guess we failed to mention the new logic is updated to have 1 missile, 1 super, and 50 or 60 something power bomb packs, right?
This was the all power bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. 4 frogs, of course.
Exactly.
Yes.
Ossie going to check the same location, and he'll find another power bomb pack. Zeb is now on his way to go to the bomb's location to get another major item. Oh boy, man, it's really hard to move when you get that slowdown. Just in case anybody's curious, that slowdown that you see by Zeb right there actually comes from the baby Metroid. When you played the vanilla game, if you get grabbed by the baby Metroid and then walk through the door transition, you will actually maintain that slowed down movement that you have when the baby's on you. So that's what that looks like. What just happened with Ossie there with the Shine Spark? Oh, Zeb too.
Yeah, and he actually got a little D-boost up there to get onto the platform, so that was actually pretty timely.
Looks like we're also getting invert buttons.
Oh my God, that sounds terrible.
I just don't know. That might just be the worst one.
For 1 minute.
I don't know if I could manage.
Hey, the good news is they've been suffering a lot from the crowd control, but they were heavily rewarded at the bomb's location with a reserve tank, everybody's favorite item.
Yeah. Of course, we would never call it a trash tank.
No, never. And even though reserves are the probably least desirable item in a randomizer situation, they do have some value. There are some things you can do with a randomizer, with a reserve tank that you can't do with a regular energy tank. I think part of the reason people don't necessarily love to see them is because they do not refill you to full. All the other energy tanks, when you pick them up, you get all your energy back, which is very helpful in a lot of situations. Plus, sometimes you want to control what enemies are dropping, and if you're at full energy, then you push a lot of their drop table to the ammo. If you have that reserve tank, energy's still on the drop table, so that can actually have a pretty big impact on how you move through certain rooms and how you're trying to gather certain ammo along the way. That's part of the reason some people don't like it as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Being able to force those drops is, it's really key, especially early on in the game. Yeah, of course, for your favorite category, mostly.
Oh yeah, for sure. So
Got
go ahead.
Ozzy heading maybe over to check Gauntlet. He's got plenty of power bombs.
Yeah.
As soon as he can get his little movement going.
Yeah. I just thought about something. Basically arm pumping, for those that are unfamiliar, that is a speedrun tech. Every time you see Samus's sprite sort of change the way she looks with an arm pump, she moves forward an extra pixel. So it's really small, but over the course of a run can add up to several seconds, and in certain specific rooms with strats, very important. But I wonder if it has even more value when you're moving slow because you're just pumping all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You get more of them in there.
That's true.
Of course, we can't all arm pump at 60 hertz
That's true.
like a behemoth can.
I did see someone got sent a reserve tank as well. I was a little unclear if it was Ozzy or Zeb. So we've got extra reserves.
Oh, baby. Did you
Yeah.
guys see that major item that we just get on the screen there for Zeb?
I saw something that you like.
My favorite beam, the Ice Beam. That, let me tell you, the Ice Beam is extremely powerful in Super Metroid. Even though it does the least amount of damage, or I guess adds the least amount of damage of any of the beam upgrade items, it has by far the most utility. Number one, it will allow the runners to now make it all the way to Botwoon and through Meridia, so even if they've never found Speed Booster, they're good to go there. Secondly, it'll help kill the Metroids way faster in Torian. And last, it allows the easiest style of Zeb skip that we have in the community in terms of speedrunning.
Oh, and Ozzy with the nice shine spark there.
So as someone who's not as good at randos, but just enjoys to watch them, could you explain with this kind of logic, will ice clip be required ever?
No, so are you talking about for the spring ball?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, technically I think that can be required, but that was already in the original logic to begin with from
Right,
Total.
I thought so.
But it was very rare. One thing about the original logic that we updated recently that I really like is that it's not what I would call a plandomizer. It's actually a randomizer. And let me just sort of try to explain what I mean by that. There are some randomizers out there that we have in the Super Metroid community that basically decide in advance where it wants to put the items, and so it can decide if it wants you to have a fast or a slow run. Meanwhile, the single most powerful item that they can pick up early on, Various Suit getting picked up. That's a big find.
My goodness.
So that's at that early energy tank location. But anyway, some randomizer logic sort of place things or manufacture where they want it to be, and then it sort of manufactures a slower or faster seed in advance. This type of logic basically just makes sure that you can reach what you need to finish the game, but otherwise there's a almost equal random chance for things to be at different locations. So I would call it you're actually responding to the randomness of the items as opposed to being forced in a certain direction by the seed itself, if that makes sense.
Well, I really like that concept too.
Yeah, me too.
It really helps a lot of people get into it, I believe.
I agree. Oh, look at Zeb. He's trucking along nicely. It's cool that he thought to backtrack. Some people don't realize those creatures, those bats that have like the metal on them or whatever, I don't remember what to call them, those things do a ton of damage. They're like one of the most damaging things. Yeah, 80 damage is a ton to the power suit. So now Zeb's going to head over here and maybe check this miner location if he can reach it. He's going to need to be careful though because there's some crumble blocks he could easily land on right here. Looks like he's cognizant of that. He also sees that we have another power bomb back up here. Man, this is a heavy power bomb early seed.
Yeah, this strat right here is probably going to, he's going to have to nope out on that for now, probably.
And Osse picking up his Various Suit, so he's going to be happy to see that. That will basically stop us from seeing one of the new updated features of this particular logic, which again was we decided to allow the Gravity Suit to actually provide 50% damage reduction to heat instead of 0, because we wanted to encourage some potential hell runs in lower Norfair, but this will not be a seed that features that. And I actually think that's a good thing. We don't want to make it to where it's happening too often. We just want it to be on the table sometimes. So here, Zeb's going to get ready for this setup. Looks like he nailed it. And he got that gate glitch with the super missile there. Usually you would need the wave beam to get through that gate.
That's right.
Let's see what he's rewarded with. Oh, baby.
Are you sure you guys didn't set this up specifically to be awesome?
We did not. And I'm excited because now Zeb will be able to run really fast, slow.
Yeah.
Very slowly, yes. Probably several more times.
Exactly. I'm actually kind of glad they found several energy tanks early, because if you have the slowdown feature throughout a majority of the run, you're going to be taking tons of damage from a lot of these creatures.
It's just going to mess up everything. All the strats they would normally run.
Oh, no. So actually, one small thing, well, it's actually kind of a big deal. The fact that they were able to find that speed booster early. Speedrunners love to find speed booster before they get to the end of this pink Brinstar section because of this. Mass, you want to explain what's happening here?
Yeah, so Zeb's heading down right here into what we call Waterway, where you're required, there's a major item down here that you can only access with Speed Booster. I think maybe the intended way for the game, because we're walking through the water here, is to have Gravity Suit, but conveniently the developers gave just enough room to build up a Shine Spark and spark all the way over to check this item. Let's see what we got.
Oh, nice. Space Jump, one of those what I refer to as a luxury item. Definitely, helpful, makes you go faster, adds some extra strats to the table. Not one that's required. You could definitely get through a randomizer run without picking up Space Jump. In fact, if you look at any percent, like a normal any percent speed run, if you're talking about the world record route, doesn't even pick up Space Jump at all. So definitely not required, but definitely a cool item to use and extremely helpful, I believe, in the crowd control version.
Shout out to Tracy. I'm sure she's happy about that.
Absolutely. Nice tech there from Osse, maintaining a little bit of his momentum through the water there with that morphin jump. Let's see if Zeb checks this minor location. Very good. He's going to be rewarded with another cheeseburger. So he's going to skip that, head on forward.
It's crazy having space jump this early into a run because you just have to start thinking about things differently and upgrading strats kind of on the fly.
That's true. And for anybody who's just coming in, I'm going to mention this a few times because I don't want anybody to be confused. You will notice that they are using charge shots right now, but they have not found the charge beam item officially. This new randomizer logic that we've been working on features a starter charge beam right from the very beginning of the game that does 30% damage. Oh, look at Zeb. Somebody gave him a spike suit, and he utilized it very well to get to the X-ray location. Very nice. But anyway, they do not have the official charge beam, so any charge shot that you see them shooting is only doing 30% damage currently. It will update to 100% if they find the actual charge beam item.
Really like that tube strat where they both were doing the space jump into the mock ball up there. That's
good stuff.
That must be some Rando League stuff that people have been working on. So
yeah, we're just a couple of old 80%ers.
Yeah, it's always fun with randomizers, even when they're not crowd control. Maybe especially when they're not, because you get to see sort of cosmic brain from a lot of these mad scientists. Like, okay, well, say I had everything.
Right.
What would I do in this room?
One small piece of information that people might not be aware of, everybody pretty much knows what iframes are in terms of invulnerable frames because that exists in a lot of video games. And as you can imagine, we use a lot of that as tech in Super Metroid. But enemies provide more iframes than environmental damage. So when you see people going through the X-ray room, if they get hit by the spikes, they actually will get re-hit by the spikes much faster than they would if they ran into one of those waivers. And that's actually important to some of the ways that people get in there and get that item, which won't be featured in this particular run, but it is good to keep in mind for future reference.
This is a really good matchup. These guys are so closely matched in skill.
Yeah, both great runners, and this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, able to really adapt on the fly, both of them.
Yeah. The only difference between the two is that maybe one of them has a richer benefactor out there than the other.
It's very true. Yeah, the first time I saw one of these, it was when Oats and Goats was playing it. Of course, there was hundreds of people. So it's just left and right. He couldn't get through one room without something happening.
Yeah, we've seen a few of these throughout featured throughout our community for various fundraisers or just fun events, and it's always fun to see what the crowd wants to happen. This is really nice getting the super missile here. Super missiles are extremely valuable, regardless of whether you have the starter charge beam or not. In particular, I would say most of the runners are trying to get as many supers as possible, specifically for Ridley. Ridley takes double damage to supers. Instead of doing 300 damage, a super missile will actually do 600 damage to Ridley. So that means that if you have 30 and you're familiar with the non-charge beam Ridley fight, that's probably one of the easiest ways to kill him that's even possible. So people are always at least looking for that 30 super threshold, to try to be comfortable. All right, Osse. Let's take a look at this quick kill. Very nicely done.
Beautiful. It's really neck and neck. I was really surprised I didn't. Well, goodness.
And now we have the official charge beam. So that means now they have the normal charge beam. Their charge shots will do 100% damage regardless of the beam combination they have. Very valuable. And in particular, I think right now with the ice beam, their charge shots are going to do 90 damage each. Unfortunately, Zeb barely missed the last super, I think, into Kraid, and so he shoots a cleanup there. And
Yeah, real nice cleanup.
he's done.
Oh, we have to bring out the old memes. He went to the prom.
That's right. That's right. I will say this, charge beam in any randomizer you're in, no matter what the logic is, you're always happy to find it because it really opens up a lot of things. And plus, you're familiar with how many shots you need. And on top of that, the Kraid layer offering up charge beam and plasma beam back to back. That's really powerful combination.
This seed is really trying to help as much as it can.
It really is.
Chat, not as much. Currently, but
Well, on the flip side, we got to give chat some love because if you look
Absolutely.
at the energy tank count, they have definitely not collected that many major items. So, somebody in chat out there is trying to help at least a little bit. Look at
Slow
Zeb.
motion.
Take that, pirates.
Yep, thanks to all the nice people too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's one of those ones that I don't know that I saw that in any of these I've seen before. I don't think I knew that you could slow motion the shine spark.
Yeah. Slow motion on the D boost is also really fascinating. And Zeb's going to be rewarded with his plasma beam. Osse going to grab an extra missile pack here. I like the call.
So, any bets on that gravity suit?
This hasn't been an overly, trolly seed or anything like that. So, and on top of that, this isn't a plandomizer where it's going to give you certain things and then try to withhold others. So it's certainly possible it could be the very next item they run into, or it could be in some random place. We'll have to find out. But I guess we should explain, since the seed did give Various Suit relatively early, that now means that gravity can be anywhere in Norfair, including all of the 3 lower Norfair locations, because it won't put gravity down there unless Varia is available. However, there's still a possibility that we could see a suitless Meridia seed, because there are 3 locations in Meridia that the gravity suit technically could be in. That's the Mama Turtle location, the Botwoon location, and the Meridia Sandpit Reserve location. So if that happens to come up for whatever reason, let's imagine for a moment that gravity's at Botwoon right now. The logic also will make sure that you have Ice Beam, High Jump Boots, and I think Grapple as well, or some combination of Spring Ball that will allow you to be able to get to those locations. So we'll see.
There we have it.
Oh, there it is.
Oh my goodness.
So this seed actually is one of the nicer seeds that you're going to find. Gives a lot of the major item locations early, unless, I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure how crowd control works. Did somebody pay to put gravity there?
I guess that is a possibility here. Bribe the Air Force here.
But see, this is part of why I like randomizer, because troll seeds are fun, but at the same time, I like seeing certain seeds where you get things early and people just go into go mode, and then it becomes all about sort of the speedrun tech. So there's just so many different ways to play, and I think it's cool that there's some diversity in terms of whether it's fast or slow. So I think it's sometimes more fun to see people use the items than to look for them. Looks like Osse's trying to go for a lava spark here. Barely misses it, so he's going to use a D-boost and then use that awesome space jump to get up there.
Yeah, Osse quite good at that as well. He was doing it consistently earlier today.
Now we get blessed with that sweet Lower Norfair music.
Definitely the best.
Get you pumped up every time. Now, in this case, Mass, I don't know, man. Would you go check the screw location?
Oh, man. You know, for these guys, I mean, the setup that they have at this point, I mean, they're basically in go mode.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I can completely understand Osse saying, no, I'm going to go check it because, I mean, what's the best item you could get?
In the game, high jump boots.
So that's the best possible item that could be at screw attack, right? Oh,
Dude, look at this. Utilizing the very seldom seen plasma special beam attack.
That was
Oh, you gotta love that.
certainly intentional.
That was awesome. But yeah, you're right. You know, if we're talking about straight up strategy, at this point, the only items left that really have a significant impact on their movement and their speed is probably high jump boots. It's probably the only one left. So there's really not much reason to go out of your way to spend a lot of time checking a slow location if there's, you know, such a small chance that something good will be there, considering that they've already got a lot of the good items as it is.
Now, considering that, you got spots like Firefleet here, which is just right there. So you have to wonder if maybe, you know, on that off chance it could be the high jump boots.
Possibly so. Osse is actually demonstrating exactly what I talked about earlier at the beginning of the race, where the space jump becomes more valuable in crowd control, because whenever you have that slow, the wall jumps become significantly harder. Being able to spam that really helped out in that room.
that room would have been a nightmare.
It would have literally probably would have killed him if you
Yeah.
didn't have space jump.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it would have definitely killed me.
Yeah. For anybody who's unfamiliar, that room is called Amphitheater, and you saw and heard the rumbling. Basically, there's acid that, you know, rises up from the bottom of that room and basically fills up like 90% of the room by the end. And had he fallen down there and had no control over being able to get back up, he would have taken a lot of damage and most likely would have died. Although he could have Crystal Flash, because he does have enough ammo to do that, so he might have
very true.
survived it.
I always forget about Crystal Flash.
Just a flash at the bottom of the lava.
Right. Hey, it happens though.
Sure.
Zeb following up, coming up behind Osse here to go down into Lower Norfair as well. Osse using some nice shine spark strats against the Pirates. This is a strat that you would typically see in like a new route run, for example. Very nice.
I have to wonder what's going to happen here if he gets slowed down during the Ridley fight.
Oh, Lord.
How much that's going to affect his
So-
ability to do anything.
That's true. He has 20 supers, so he's only going to need to pump out, I think, 6,000 total damage apart from those supers, which is not a ton, and he does have the regular charge beam with plasma, which is a very powerful beam. So this fight should not be too bad in this particular setup, not to mention he has a ton of energy.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, without without wave, the plasma beam is kind of weird because it's just this little tiny, little beam that's like, it doesn't really have much width to it. And so it's actually pretty easy when you're not used to not using it to like miss some shots against Ridley.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Spacer would have to be my favorite beam just for that reason, because it just makes everything so much better.
It does offer you a much wider hitbox or whatever on the spacer beam, unless you hit Ridley a lot more easily.
Oh, goodness.
I hate to inform Osse, but you can't use shine sparks against Ridley like you can on Dragon.
No.
Clearly, that's what he was going for there, right? But he gets through the fight. Nice job.
Good job.
And Zeb is going to be heading down there soon. He's going to be taking a save. I totally agree with the save because you never know what the crowd is going to do to you. Might as well save before you fight Ridley. Osse didn't even check the Ridley location. Yeah, so I feel like that's an okay call. The only thing I would say, though, like, it's okay in terms of time. However, even if that was a regular energy tank, I think that's really helpful.
Right now, it would be very helpful.
For sure. With that said, though, I would like to point out that he does have, like, in the context of Super Metroid speedrunning, 3 energy tanks worth of energy and plasma beam would basically be like super safe way to get out if you're familiar with speedrunning. But with that, with that said, you never know what crowd control is going to do to you.
If he gets into a pinch, he does have the Crystal Flash.
That's true. But right now, unfortunately, he can't use it because he doesn't have enough supers. He'd have to get back to 10 supers.
I didn't even notice that, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the ability in terms of the total ammunition, but he doesn't have the current ammunition for it, which is pretty typical, though. You know how it is when you fight Ridley. You fire in your supers, and then you have to wait a while before you get them back.
Right.
Part of the reason plasma is so overpowered as a beam is actually this room right here and a few other ones during Lower Norfair. This is going to allow him to actually clip through the key hunters, and the key hunters do a lot of damage. I think they do 50 damage even to the gravity and barrier suit combination.
Can you clip in slow motion?
Oh, is he running slow? Maybe not. I don't know. He tried, though. You saw him try to do it.
That's true.
Meanwhile, Zeb fighting Ridley. Ridley is by far my favorite boss fight. What's y'all's favorite boss fight? I think Ridley's just so cool. He's got so much AI. He's so complicated.
Well, not really.
He's my favorite, even though he's ended like way more runs than any boss.
They all make me so mad, but I love them all the same, I think.
Of course. So Ridley now has half of his health depleted. You can tell because he turned pink. Starts off purple. Once he hits the 49% or lower threshold, he will turn pink, and you'll know that you have about 9,000 health to go. So Zeb gonna clean this up here.
Yeah, he's having a really clean fight with Ridley so far.
Doing a little manipulation here to keep Ridley Poe going. Very nicely done. And got him. We clap for Osse. Let's clap for Zeb too.
Right.
Very nice. Very nice.
Well, we're going to get to see our item over here, hopefully.
We didn't really want to clap, but mostly people don't know that's a crowd control feature, so we were just forced to clap based on crowd control donation.
Well, we got a trash tank down there.
That's right. Look at Osse destroying all those frogs down there in the Frog Speedway. That's actually what it's called. I feel bad now saying that.
But should we call Ridley a frog now?
I guess so.
All right.
Everybody calls everything else a frog. I don't know why, but that's just what it is. Not going to check that ice location. So just as a rehash real quick for those of you watching at home, here's what the runners currently have. And let's forget crowd control for a minute. Let's just talk about the items they have in the game. They do have both suits. They have the Varia and Gravity suits. They have the regular charge beam along with ice and plasma. They have the space jump, and they have the speed booster. So they're basically in go mode. The only kind of really helpful movement item left, I'm going to get killed for saying this because everybody in the Super Metroid community loves Spring Ball so much, but Spring Ball is helpful, but in this context with these items, high jump boots would have a much larger impact on the run overall. That's the only one that's missing. So at this juncture, all they have to do now is kill Dragon and Fantoon, and then they can go to G4 and get ready to go to Torian.
Yeah. Love the guys out there. Love Sloters and all them, but, Spring Ball, I'd be fine not seeing it.
Well, I think it's one of those items that, we get to see it a lot in the Rando League, right?
Yep.
These guys, again, the mad scientists figure out ways to use these things. And you can see some pretty slick tricks just because you're able to get these things in a situation that you normally wouldn't. Oh, there we go. We got Zeb
There's a
picking up
nice luxury item there.
some screw attack.
I feel like that's a little bit of a troll location for Screw Attack.
It definitely is.
It might be the single most troll location for Screw Attack in this game because Screw Attack is extremely powerful but its main use is really just getting through Lower Norfair because it doesn't have too much value elsewhere.
The rooms he just went through.
Exactly. So he already went through like all the rooms that he actually would have like used it for, or would have made it a lot easier. But Screw Attack's one of those interesting items because it's extremely powerful, but not necessary at all. And so it's kind of one of those, like, if you find it after you've completed Lower Norfair, a lot of times people just skip it.
It's almost a hassle because you get down to Torian, and then you've got to do something about it.
Yeah, and for anybody that might be unaware, you know, we can kind of explain more of the technicalities a little bit later, but every time that you Screw Attack, you actually lose your iframes. So if Samus gets hit by something and then immediately does a Screw Attack, she no longer has her iframes anymore, and that ends up affecting the ice Zeb skip in Torian, which we will see later when they get there. So a little piece of speed tech for you.
I guess it's possible we could see a speed zip skip.
We could.
If chat has to cooperate with it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Osse getting ready for the I like that space
jump.
The space jump. Yeah, this fight can get a little weird when you don't have the high jump boots and you're trying to do the Shine Spark method, but I like him using that speed booster there. I don't think he quite got enough into her to get a 3-spark kill here. Yeah, he's gonna have to do at least 4.
See a 10% health boost to Dragon from the crowd.
Oh my!
See if we can extend the fight a little longer.
We need to be careful though. Even though he has 3 energy tanks left, Dragon is notorious for doing chain damage, and you can definitely get killed if you're not careful. I remember I lost. Yeah, very nice. I killed Dragon. I lost, I think, 8 energy tanks of health one time in a randomizer from getting chain damaged by Dragon.
Oh, I think we clipped that. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible for you to lose a lot. But luckily, I think Osse made that call on purpose. He realized that with the space jump, you know, he wasn't really going to lose very much time in the reverse Happy Room here, or reverse Coliseum. He didn't really need the blue suit or the spike suit because he had the space jump. So instead of like risking a chain damage situation with his item set, he just decided to do a few charge shots and kill Dragon. I like that call.
Yeah, immense amount of damage there with the ice and plasma.
Absolutely. So Zeb is heading towards Batwun, and Osse will be heading to Mount Everest to presumably exit the top room, so he can go straight to the wrecked ship, and he will probably skip every item there as well and head straight to Torian.
Nope, we got a high five.
Very nice. Bust out. I believe SpeedGaming has that emote, right? So bust those out. One thing we didn't get to see in this particular seed is if you have Plasma and Charge Beam, you get to utilize a Microwave Beam on Batwun and Dragon, where you actually use the X-Ray Beam to multi-hit them with your charged plasma shots. We didn't get to see that this time, but Zeb closing out that Batwun fight fairly quickly, and he's going to move on to Dragon.
Yeah, I wonder if time-wise, checking that Ridley location, right? Had it had X-ray scope, all the remaining bosses would have been subject to getting microwaves.
It definitely would have saved a little bit of time, you're right. And high jump boots also would have saved a good bit of time. But then again, you know, the chances of those 2 items being there versus all the rest of the stuff that's still in the pool, probably a low chance. So it's a balance, you know. Some people want to feel more comfortable checking everything. Some people feel more comfortable skipping stuff. That's kind of the cool part about Super Metroid in general, and especially Super Metroid Randomizer. Clearly, you're a little bit gated by a few items, but I like the fact that you're not nearly as hard gated in this game as, you know, some potential randomizers out there, and I think that kind of holds true to what Super Metroid is philosophically as a game. It's a very open type of game that really lets you use your imagination and skill without being too locked into certain items. So I think it's cool to see people like really play aggressively and, you know, just kind of get in there and kill those bosses and move on.
Oh yeah, it's definitely my favorite part of the randomizers and why I enjoy watching them. Not so much playing them because I'm not good. Alright, so we'll see what Dragon's got in mind for Zeb here.
Yeah. He's got a full full lot of energy tanks there, so he should be in good shape. Osse getting trolled by the ball store a little bit. I think, yeah, it looks like something might have happened to his buttons. He has an inverted button in D-pad for a minute. Ouch. Luckily that went away. I don't know if I would have gone into the Pantoon fight like
Goodness, that might be the worst room for it. I think they had that in mind.
Oh, accidentally popping Fantoon with a super missile there, which does do double damage. Okay, we got 600 damage, but unfortunately it enraged Fantoon and made him shoot the flames here for several seconds, which is obviously a lot slower because you can't hurt him during that phase. But if you're a casual player, it's actually probably the safest method possible.
Yeah.
Just pop Fantoon with a super, charge your charge beam, do a few spin jumps with the pseudo screw. You'll avoid getting hit by those flames. Do that a few times, you can clean up your Fantoon fight.
Only to get the baby Metroid hug. Should be fine here. He's just about got it. That beam is just going to do a considerable amount of damage, so it really limits the amount of time Fantoon can do anything in reciprocation.
And we've got a Fantoon kill. Very nice by Osse. I assume he's probably going to just roll right on out of the wreck ship without checking any items and head his way to Torian. It's going to be a fast seed, especially a fast seed for a crowd control. Even with all the impact the crowd has had, they've been able to kind of boogie on through here pretty quickly, which has been a good thing.
Yeah, this has been a great time for these guys.
This might be a Super Metroid crowd control world record.
I believe it's going to be.
Get hype, chat.
Actually, I don't know what the best one was.
You're witnessing history.
It wouldn't surprise me if Osse was the one to do it, though.
Absolutely. Of course, you never know what's going to happen, you know.
That's true. Zeb is right behind him.
He's not, yeah, Zeb's not far away. He's only got to go over to wreck ship and kill Fantoon, so he's a few minutes behind. But with the crowd control, you just never know what's going to happen.
Trying to manipulate the crowd, are we?
No, I would never. I would never do something like that.
Yeah. Shout outs to chat there.
Okay. Osse is going to head to the landing site here. I don't think he's going to stop to refill because, well, okay, he is. I was going to say, in this case, you really don't necessarily have to because you do have the ice beam and you have plenty of regular missiles to go along with the super missiles you had. But I also don't necessarily disagree with the call. In fact, he might have only been doing that for the save, which actually is a really smart call. I hadn't thought about that in the context of crowd control. But yeah, he's going to head now to Torian. And one of the cool updates about a lot of the randomizers that we play is we've tried to sort of trim the fat, if you will. You don't have to sit through all of the cutscenes. So when they get to the golden statue or the G4 room, it'll already be open and they can go straight down to Torian instead of having to sit there and stare at the screen for about 40 seconds or so. Which I love for randomizer, but I will say this, I actually kind of like the fact that that cutscene exists when you're on a regular speedrun because you're on a sick pace and you get there and then you just have to sit there and stare at the screen for a good little while, so it's a nice mind game.
Yeah, it's Behemoth would always do, even if he's on world record pace, he sets the controller down, just sits back and stretches a minute.
Exactly. You gotta chill, get in the right frame of mind. So here we have Zeb getting ready to fight Fantoon. Let's see what kind of patterns Fantoon gives to Zeb here. All right, we don't have a fast on the opening round. Will we get a mid? No. Opening round slow. There's no way for you to control Fantoon's patterns, so that is a big portion of RNG in a speed run of this game. Did get a second round fast, but he didn't get quite enough damage in on the first round to actually be able to pull off a 2-round here, and I think that Doppler missed a little bit as well. I think this is probably going to end up becoming a 4-round most likely. Got a third round mid here. And one more round should be able to probably clean this up. Meanwhile, Osse made it through room number 1 without issue. Cleaning up room 2 very quickly. Zeb getting trolled a little bit here. This is one of the, it's not rare, but it's not as likely of a pattern. Oh, no.
Looks like we had the...
Was it the one-hit kill? Yeah, the one-hit KO.
Oh,
Ouch.
Osse,
Oh, no.
Another one.
Osse got it, too.
I forgot about these OKOs.
Yikes, dude. So now going back to Osse's save. Very smart decision to save up there. But now he's got to go back and finish up. Zeb, on the other hand, unfortunately, is going to have to fight Dragon again. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was probably the worst time for him to have that happen.
You know, now that I think about it, I'm kind of surprised that was the first one-hit KO that we saw all night.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, they're expensive, but
Oh.
Fiesel in the crowd appreciate it.
That makes sense, yeah. You remember all that talk about crowd control world record?
That's right.
Let's pump the brakes on that just for just a minute.
Man, what a fast seed.
I get commentary curse on that.
No.
Come to think of it, Osse was on quite a pace too, and this kept happening to him as well. So I would expect that they're going to save right before Mother Brain as well, because that's
yeah.
probably going to pop off several times.
Oh, yeah. Zeb using some charge shots here against Dragon. Osse, meanwhile, accidentally, I believe, dropping a power bomb. Or maybe he's doing it on purpose at this point. Oh, he doesn't have
now that
regular
they're
bombs.
latched. Yeah.
That's a good point. I forgot. He doesn't have regular bombs, so that's one thing about bombs that's very beneficial too. When you get into this location in Torian, if you don't have bombs and they get latched on you, you can't do it.
And we missed it. Just
Think about that.
he has an unequipped ice beam.
Oh, nice.
Oh, my.
I guess that's the reason he's using those
Yeah.
power bombs.
That was quick thinking on his part.
It was. I like that.
He thinks a lot faster than I do. Now, so you can actually exit the room, correct? And they'll let go?
Correct. That is true.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can only exit to the previous room because, the door doesn't open until you kill all the Metroids. Looks like he's got his ice beam back.
It'd be great if you could get a baby skip. It's going to be interesting if he's left to his own devices to try it.
Well, I was going to say, I think it's probably not even worth going for because he doesn't have high jump boots. And then on top of that, even if you did have high jump boots, it would be a lot slower because the wave beam isn't equipped and he would have to shoot that moss like way more times to be able to complete the baby skip. So, looks like
you
he's...
how often I do it. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Well, it's pretty typical. We're always thinking about Super Metroid speedruns. You show up, and this is one of the biggest, rooms in the game in terms of, when you're going for a PB or whatever. But in a rando situation, you don't get to go for it every time.
Oh, yeah, there's another reason why I like Wave Beam.
Yeah, Wave Beam's got a lot of great utility. Unfortunately, they did not find that or the Spacer Beam in this particular one. Looks like did we get a one-hit KO? No. Osse is just, he's down to 1 energy and he didn't refill yet. Okay, I was about to say, be careful. He's activating those reserves.
He's going for the Crystal Flash refill.
Oh. Or maybe he just wants to hurry up and get to that save station.
Well, I guess that's
anything
true.
bad can happen.
He doesn't need to. Yeah, that's true. He had so much in his reserves.
And technically, he does have enough energy. I mean, he has,
Yeah.
one more energy than you would have in a typical 80% run. So,
That was another Cosmic Brain moment.
he's going for the speed. Zeb skip? Oh, close. Instead, he's going to use the charged plasma shot from below because since he doesn't have wave beam, he couldn't get through his shot there. But he gets the Zeb skip there. Very nice.
Removed Screw Attack earlier.
he needs to be a little careful because he's going to fire a lot of this ammo, and he wants to be careful because he might not be able to Crystal Flash. And if he doesn't Crystal Flash, he's only got 340 health. He cannot go down past 301.
And he gets it calculated.
And the buttons are swapped.
Oh my God. This is about to be crazy. And that's it. GG. Unless he can find a way to Crystal Flash somehow here, which I think would be very difficult to do.
He has enough.
He does. I'm going to be honest, it's like as a commentator, I'm usually not at a loss for words. I have no idea what to say right here. This is so nuts.
Yeah, it's just chaos at this point.
He's getting some health back.
Okay.
Oh, chat fighting back.
We got people in the chat helping Osse out. Looks like I think his controls are still inverted. Okay, now he's trying to do some shots here. Oh, chat's still helping out a little bit here.
Yeah, they're really going to town.
Oh, somebody donated for the
one-hit kill.
Frost Tsunami enabled the one-hit KO.
Had to figure we'd see at least one of those.
Meanwhile, Zeb's going to try to finish up his Phantoon fight here. I believe he's like one round away. A couple more missiles and a super. He should be in good shape. Very nice.
And the speed skip.
Nicely done by Osse. That's a really tough thing to do in this game.
It is.
And that may have been a flash suit given from the crowd that actually nailed that down. So,
Nice.
another cool feature of crowd control.
Meanwhile, looks like Zeb got a hug from the baby Metroid. Round 2 fight versus Mother Brain.
Oh,
Well, you're gonna have to maybe see. You could do a Crystal Flash right here.
It's going to be hard to do a Crystal Flash in the middle of this fight.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was possible.
I think technically you could, but the timing would be really awkward because you have to be under a certain threshold of health,
Yeah.
and then it would have to trigger. So it's certainly possible to happen, but in the meantime you could get hit. So I don't know. It's kind of tricky.
Well, that'll do it.
See, what happened there was Osse was showing off. Did a Sean Spark into the ceiling, and Mother Brain was like, no way, young man. Catch up to the face. And we're going to have round 3.
Yeah, I believe we're gonna have ketchup on those French fries today.
If I were Osse, I would legitimately consider going back up to the energy refill station before doing some of this. Of course, then somebody could just donate for one-hit KO, so he might be losing time. But he's got so little leeway with his energy here for this fight, especially with people messing with his buttons and stuff like that.
The reversing of the buttons is just got to be the worst.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay, KO's got to be the worst, but
I'm sure there's other games out there that do things like reverse your buttons or invert them, but the one I always think of is Secret of Evermore.
Oh, yeah.
There's a part in Secret of Evermore where some of the creatures can do that to you, and it would always like make me die and run into things. Oh, there's a flash shoot. Take that, Mother Brain. Send a heal.
somebody's being nice today.
Yeah, that's great.
we have
More flash suits.
Double flash suit.
Oh no. We had the enable KO go directly with ketchup.
Frost Tsunami again. A fan of that. Okay, KO.
I'm pretty sure Frost Tsunami's probably Zeb's roommate in college. That's that's what's going on here, clearly. Well, we did get to witness the rarely seen quadruple Zeb skip tonight, so that's some good thing to happen here. One small piece of tech that people might not be aware of: those Rinkas, if you kill them, they won't necessarily like respawn immediately. If you have the ice beam, even if you kill them, the game is still reading them as being frozen, so it takes a while for them to respawn. If you don't have the ice beam and you shoot them, they're just going to keep popping out. So it actually can be kind of tricky if you have minimal amounts of ammo when you're trying to kill Mother Brain.
Unequipped plasma.
Unequipped plasma. Look at this beam. What is this beam that we're seeing here?
I believe Super Metroid's confused.
It's ice cubes. Dude, I'm jealous. I want this beam.
I'm not 100% sure. We have send a bigger hug from Beta Metroid.
Yeah, it's gonna make dodging these.
Is that just?
I'm
It's
sorry,
typically a big hug.
right.
Is a bigger hug a longer one?
I don't know. That's a good question. But yeah, it's gonna be hard to dodge. You know, a lot of the Mother Brain attacks if you can't move correctly.
So does the Zeb over there? He's got. Did they give him the
Oh,
yeah
equip hyper beam.
hyper beam? So that's
Oh,
gonna
wow.
mess that. That's gonna mess it up completely.
Yeah, well, and that's an interesting thing because hyper beam is obviously very powerful, right? It's what we're going to get in the game. There's a sort of a fun category in New Game Plus where you can actually run the game with the hyper beam, and you learn, such as like the Metroids there, that although it's the most powerful beam in the game,
That's
it
right.
doesn't help because you don't have ice beam.
That's true. Even the ice beam can sometimes be more powerful than the hyper beam.
That's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. You have to physically go back in and turn it back on.
Man. He's getting so close. He's going to be nearing the catch-up pace soon. Okay, here we go. Oh, just barely got over that catch-up beam.
Oh man, what a combo!
You can still make it happen.
He's going to have to get himself back above 300 health.
Yeah.
Can somebody...
All right, benefactors.
Yeah, will somebody donate some health or energy to this guy?
Hey, let's.
Oh, he's gonna try to Crystal Flash real quick. He didn't make it.
It's so close.
Oh,
Oh.
too bad.
And that was a great try there.
That was valiant effort indeed.
So now I'm not sure. Does having hyper beam? I'm not sure if. No, okay. Zeb doesn't have it permanently.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, does that get saved if you save the game?
Right. Well, in some cases, I'd prefer not to have the hyper beam so I can do the Zeb skip with the ice beam. But the flip side is he has enough ammo to kill Zeb, so if he had to.
Yeah. The only nice thing is that Mother Brain fight goes.
Ooh, Zeb just got the one-hit KO. I can't quite read who donated that one. Whoever you are out there, Osse thanks you.
That's right. Well, Frost is Zeb's roommate, right? So
Right.
it must be Osse's roommate retaliating.
Oh, Kip, I know you wish you would have been this now.
What? Running this game? I'll tell you what, I've never been more happy to be on commentary than right now. I think I'd be getting pretty frustrated. He's getting close. Osse closing in. If he fires all of these supers, he's going to get it.
Yeah.
One more dodge.
Sure can do it.
All right, he's got it.
It's a shame you can't save it after.
All right, he's in there. Very nice. Uh-oh. Oh, man, if somebody had enabled one hit KO right there, that would have been really bad. I guess I clapped a little early. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to commentator clap curse.
Man, it is so close now, too.
It is. Zeb is also through his fight here.
Zeb already with Hyper Beam.
Oh, and he's doing stand-up with the Hyper Beam. I've never seen this happen
Yeah,
before.
I don't know.
how it works.
Yeah,
Let's find out. Oh, I guess he's using his
that's
regular
right.
charge shots. Okay.
It was just for a minute.
Osse is currently ahead on time, but Zeb, let's imagine nothing else happens from crowd control, which we all know that's not going to be the case. But let's just imagine for a minute that it was. Zeb's actually going to catch up a little bit of time, if not surpass him, towards the end of the Mother Brain 3 sequence, because Zeb is being able to pump in a few extra shots into Mother Brain right now. The flip side, though, is that Zeb maybe, I don't know if the Metroid's going to take a few extra shots to actually like come off of Zeb, because some of these rings are missing. I would say Osse's probably still in the lead. Osse's going to have to hit Mother Brain with, it's like 36 or 40 or something shots. Zeb's going to have to do a little bit less because he's already got a little bit of damage in there, but we'll see what it ends up being. This is going to be very close. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Zeb's, yeah, barely in the lead here. Okay.
It all comes down to this.
It does. Let's see what happens.
Got something on Zeb's side there.
Oh,
Send
no.
a hug.
We've got a hug for Osse, too.
Oh boy. Oh. There's probably never been a time in these runners' lives that they've wanted love less than right
yeah,
now.
that's unwanted attention for sure.
Zeb doing a very smart thing, re-equipping that screw attack. We talked about earlier how screw attack didn't have much value outside of Lower Norfair, but in this specific context, he can actually use that space jump to go through these pirates in a way that Osse can't always. He could potentially get hit more, so that's a very interesting play. Dude, look how close this is.
Who could prepare for slow motion escape?
Oh, he got another hug on Zeb. Osse, I believe, is still moving normal speed here. Osse's about to take the lead. Zeb can't quite get off the wall. There we go. And Osse is now in the parlor. Doesn't look like anything's happening. He could be in good shape here. Heading to the landing site.
He's never ran so fast to get out of here.
He's gonna save the animals! No! Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you put the children to bed early tonight, because they do not need to see this, okay? Don't set a bad example for your children. We just got rated R real fast up in here.
Oh, he waits for all the animals to leave.
That is really going to put it close. Well, no, he's still pretty well ahead.
If you wanted proof that the universe is unjust, if Osse's going to win after saving the animals, this is just proof that life is unfair and you just got to deal with it. Ladies and gentlemen, GG to Osse on a fantastic run. Super Metroid randomizer. Crowd Control. We want to give a big thank you to all the people out there in the crowd that donated. Really appreciate it. That was very entertaining. And right behind him, zeb316. Going to get into the ship. He's got the blue suit. Going to run through the steam here. And GG. Well done, Zeb. Great race, guys. Time permitting, we'll check with the organizers. Time permitting, we'll see if we can get the guys over here for a short interview. But otherwise, we just want to say thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. And GG to the runners. We appreciate you guys putting a show on for us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SG Live 2019. We just finished up the Super Metroid Randomizer run. We had Crowd Control featured, and we have our two runners here. We got Zeb and Osse. GG, gentlemen, that was a fun race.
Thank you.
So, Osse, we'll start with you. You were the big winner. Before I sort of get in your head about what the experience was like, I got to know, were you so mad that people had messed with you so much that you had to then make us angry that you saved the animals? Is that what was going on?
No, I just figured the fans would like an animal save.
Of course.
I don't know, Zeb killed them to give us a balance or not.
Right.
Yeah, I did kill them.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I got to ask you too, Zeb, because we're almost 100% confident that like your college roommate was donating to kill Osse like a bunch of times in a row. So do you want to give a shout out to any special person out there?
Shout out to Nevdi. I think that he was probably helping me out. But
That Oko is pretty effective.
It is. Now, Osse, real quick, have you ever done crowd control before?
No.
Okay, so that was your first one. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Was I'm sure you had fun, but what was it like to experience all those changes?
So I have seen crowd control before. So I was expecting like the baby slows, the sparks into Mother Brain, and just to die periodically. And so I took a couple saves. It went real slow at the start, the baby speed, so I got to experience that. Inverted buttons and D-pad was very interesting. There's a couple times I was just sitting in one place trying to figure out the buttons because they were all like randomly arranged.
Oh, okay.
And so most of the time I just waited it out the whole minute because I couldn't figure out what button did what.
Makes sense. Zeb, what about you, man? Tell us about your experience.
yeah, similar to Osse, I had a lot of the get a hug from the baby. I think I was hugging the baby most of the match, but it was pretty fun. I thought it was a lot of fun when we got hugs from the baby, actually. Like, I was expecting it to be kind of annoying, but it was a lot more fun than I expected, especially once we had speed. You could do a lot of cool things with the slowdown from the baby as well as speed. So
That's a good point.
Yeah. Once you have speed and space jump, then you're not completely stopped once you get the baby speed. And you can keep going, but just a little slower.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that early space jump really seemed to come into effect quite a bit, especially Zeb, you at the end, you turned on screw attack, and we all agreed that was like a cosmic brain moment there.
Yeah, for sure.
And there was several for you as well with the space jump. So it turned out to be a big item.
Yeah, and that was a great feature. And real quick, if you guys don't mind, we're here playing Super Metroid. Zeb, you're in 2 tournaments here at SG Live. I'm in 2 tournaments. Osse, you're in 2 tournaments. I think, Mecca, you're in at least one of them. But you're also going to be doing your Link to the Past randomizer stuff starting tomorrow, which we're excited to see. So if you wouldn't mind, we'll start with you. Osse, tell us just a little bit about everything you're involved in here at SpeedGaming Live and how the experience has been so far.
So I've gotten to watch a lot of races, get to meet a lot of the faces that I've seen on the tournaments online, pair them to their gameplay, their character. I guess the experience for me has turned into more of a Super Metroid focus here with our evening Super Metroid block that we built. And so I've just gotten to have a lot of fun doing Super Metroid with Kip and the gang. And then I'm going to have to, switch gears to Link to the Past coming tomorrow and be at my best without any of the group stage warm-up that the rest of the field is getting.
Yeah, some fierce competition out there, but I'm sure you're going to do well, and good luck, man. It's going to be awesome rest of the tournament. So what about you, Zeb? What's the experience been like here, and tell us about all the stuff you're up to?
So I'm doing the Any%, the double anti-bingo tournaments for Super Metroid, and I didn't actually start doing any double anti-bingo until like this last week, and I did like 3 matches to prepare. But it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of thinking, maybe too much thinking sometimes, but yeah, it's been really fun.
Awesome. What about you, Mako?
Yeah, I really enjoy watching you guys do the bingos, especially, on your stream. You like to do them quite often. Not so much do them myself. I'll stick to the Any%. I really enjoy the old route Any%. I like the old tried and true, but as far as watching, sky's the limit, and this is great. This is just awesome.
Yeah, I really can't emphasize enough how much fun I'm having at this event. Me and my buddy Mass Hysteria were talking. We're buddies since college, and how often do you get together in person with people who play Super Metroid or whatever other video game from the past that you like to play, and play together on CRTs in the same room and have fun doing tournaments? It's like, even though we're in tournaments together and we're competing, we're like joking and laughing and having a good time. Like, it's just really a lot of fun to share your passion with other people that share the same passion as you. So this has been a really cool event. I would highly recommend anybody out there to consider coming to next year's, because I do believe it is already in the works for 2020. In fact, this is a little good segue here. We've already set up a donation incentive for having Super Metroid Randomizer Tournament for next year's SpeedGaming Live 2020. So we hope that can get a little bit more steam. And if the new Logic can get a little steam too, maybe we'll use that then as well.
Absolutely. We definitely want to see it.
So with that said, gentlemen, I'll let you guys have the last word. Anything you want to say before we go?
I don't know. Thanks to all my fans. Thanks for the randomizer creators, which now includes you, I guess.
I suppose so.
Yeah. And been a lot of fun here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. Stick around for some A Link to the Past randomizer, and here in a little while we'll have some more Super Metroid races as well.